When I moved to Phoenix, my focus was on things to do around the Phoenix metro area. And I didn't realize how many amazing places there are throughout Arizona that are just a 1 to 2 hour drive away. I'm going to give you some of my favorite day trips and then stick around to the end as a bonus. I'll give you a few that are a little further than 2 hours, but are great for a weekend getaway. First up, and probably my favorite, is Sedona. It's about an hour 45 to 2 hour drive north of Phoenix. Has some stunning red rock landscapes, and it's also a nice drop in temperature. It's usually about 10 to 15 degrees cooler than Phoenix, and it's just a great change of scenery. Now, one little pro tip: if you can avoid it, try not to come back Sunday afternoons. Everyone is usually coming back from the weekend, and when you're filtering down I-17 back into Phoenix, it can get really congested. Now, they are doing a widening of that area. It's been going on for the past few years, and I think it's expected to end in 2025. So hopefully that helps a bit, but traffic can be pretty bad Sunday afternoons. Let's start with some outdoor activities, and probably the most popular hiking trail is Cathedral Rock. Now, if you talk to people that have hiked it before, they usually say the same thing. It's pretty challenging and steep in certain areas, but once you get to the top and see that view, it makes the hike totally worth it. Keep in mind, it's not an easy hike, though. I wouldn't recommend it for beginners. If you want something a step down from that, I would recommend Devil's Bridge. This is more of a moderate hike. It's got a bit of a climb towards the top, but same thing here. Once you see those views, it makes the hike totally worth it. And then one pro tip here: you want to get to both areas early because the parking lots fill up pretty quickly. Now, on to my favorite, mountain biking trails. Highline and Hangover are probably the two most popular trails in Sedona, but one of my favorite loops is in an area called the Hogs Trails. So they've got a trail named High on the Hog, Hog Heaven, and Pigtail. So hence the name Hog Trails. And these are super fun trails. It's got a mix of some technical stuff, but then it's also got some berms and jumps on Pigtail. So definitely worth checking out, and it's a nice little loop. If you're not interested in hiking or biking, there's definitely some other options for you. First up, I'd recommend visiting the Chapel of the Holy Cross. Now, this one's free to visit, and it's got parking close by, and it's just a beautiful piece of architecture. It's basically built into a red rock face and has these huge stained glass windows that overlook the Verde Valley. This one's open daily 9 to 5, and I believe they have a gift shop there as well. Now, next up, we have Tlaquepaque Village. At least I think that's how you say it. This is a great open air village. It's built around these beautiful sycamore trees, and it's designed to resemble a traditional Mexican village. Now, whether you're into shopping or not, I would recommend going here just to take a look at the architecture. Now, last up, if you want to get views that are normally seen by hiking and biking in, you can see some of these beautiful red rock formations on a thing called Pink Jeep Tours. And it's basically an open air Jeep that'll take you back into these areas where people normally hike or bike in. Next up, we have Flagstaff, and this is about a 2 hour drive north of Phoenix. One thing you'll notice is a significant temperature drop from Phoenix to Flagstaff, with the elevation being just under 7,000 feet. Now, if you're looking for greenery, mountains, and some pine trees, this will be your spot. Now, for activities in Flagstaff, probably the most popular winter destination is Arizona Snow Bowl. This is where everyone heads north to go skiing and snowboarding during the winter. It's located on the west side of Mount Humphreys, and they have 8 lifts, I believe 61 total runs, and it covers almost 800 acres. Next up, you have Walnut Canyon National Monument. There's a bunch of moderate trails here for an easy hike. One trail I would recommend is the Island Trail. You'll pass through, I believe there's 25 ancient cliff dwellings throughout this trail. Now, last up, I always have to throw in some mountain biking. Mount Eldon is probably the best starting point. I would recommend going to the top and hitting Upper Sunset, and then you can link that up with many other trail options down below. So that would be my best recommendation for a starting point. Next up, we have Prescott. Definitely don't pronounce it Prescott or you'll be corrected by the locals. They're pretty particular about how they say their city name. This one's about an hour 45 northwest of Phoenix and has a good mix of Western history downtown and then a bunch of outdoor activities. Now, for things to do in Prescott, I would start with Whiskey Row in the downtown area. So Whiskey Row is a historic section of downtown that has some really cool Old West saloons. And then the central part of downtown is the Courthouse Plaza, and that's surrounded by a bunch of different shopping and restaurants. And next up, you have the Prescott Lakes. So Prescott has the most lakes of any city in Arizona. So these lakes are great for non-motorized activities like kayaking or stand-up paddleboarding. One thing to note though, most of the lakes don't allow swimming. And then last, I would say hit the trails. The Prescott National Forest has over 850 miles of maintained trails that are great for hiking, mountain biking, or horseback riding. Next up, we have Payson. Now, this city flies under the radar a bit. It's 90 minutes northeast of Phoenix, has a deep Western heritage, and a long rodeo history that dates back over 100 years. Probably the most popular attraction here is the Tonto National Park. So this is located northwest of town, and it has one of the world's largest natural travertine bridges. There's also some great hiking and biking in this area as well. And if you've noticed a theme, Arizona is great for outdoor activities. Next up, we have Lake Pleasant. So if you're looking for a lake day and trying to keep it somewhat local, this is only about 30 minutes northwest of Phoenix. So this is a man-made lake that covers 10,000 acres and is a popular boating destination. Keep in mind, during the summer, everyone's trying to get away from the heat, so this place gets pretty packed. Now, if you don't have a boat, there are plenty of coves and picnic areas where you can set up shop on the shore. Quick bonus for you, I've got 5 spots that are just out of day trip range, but I think are worth it for a weekend getaway. So number 1 on the list, we've got the Grand Canyon. That's about a 3-hour drive. Number 2 on the list, you've got Las Vegas. That's only about a 4.5-hour drive from Phoenix. Number 3 on the list, we have San Diego, and that's a 5.5-hour drive. And then number 4 on the list, the southwest area of Utah, you've got Zion National Park, and that's only a 6-hour drive. And then last on the list, if you want to head south and cross the border, Rocky Point, Mexico is about a 4-hour drive. Now, there's obviously a ton of stuff to do in the Phoenix metro area, but hopefully this gives you some ideas of ways you can explore all of Arizona.